One. Oh, you still have it? All right. So, hi everyone. I have two awesome ladies that's getting ready to share their story. They're going to speak out on domestic violence while sharing their story. They're going to let us know who they are, where they from, if they got a family, and all of that good stuff. And I'm allowing them. I want them to take their time and share what they are comfortable with sharing. And after each one share their story, we will have Q&As. So please, if you need to write your questions down, get a pen and paper, get ready so you don't forget your questions. My dogs, y'all.
Dogs.
And Cha-Cha is going to go first. And the floor is yours.
Okay. Hey everybody, I am Chacha Garcia. Um, I don't even know where to begin. You wanted me to start from the very beginning, right? If possible.
First, let us know who you are. Tell us your name, where you from, what you
Okay.
do.
All right. So I'm Chacha Garcia. I'm from the Virgin Islands, and I'm the founder of Beauty by Chacha Garcia. That's a clothing brand that was inspired by my domestic violence experience. It's real new. Probably just made a year, and literally just made a year. Um, what inspired me to do that clothing brand was my experience with domestic violence and exactly what we're doing right now, empowering other women. Um, my domestic violence experience started.
Wait. Before you start, do you have any kids or families?
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
I have a
kids,
little boy.
husband.
I have a son. I have a
Okay.
9-year-old boy. He looked like he's 12, but he's 9 years old, and
Awesome.
that's my only baby. He's my little bodyguard.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I'm not married. I'm not married. Not in a relationship. Feel safe enough to say that just now. I'm not in a I'm not in a relationship, but I to be honest, that really ain't my focus right now. It's really not my focus right now. If it happened, it happened. I'm open to it, but that's not my focus right now.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna let you get started. I don't know if you need me to help you ask questions, but I know it'd be so much that we forget. It happened to me like 5 times when I shared my story one time. I just like, oh, I just got all over the place. But if you can take us from like maybe the beginning, like when it started or something like that, so we can follow along and have like a insight.
You could throw your questions in whenever you're ready, but it's my first relationship, and I want to say that's my only relationship, to be honest. That was the abusive relationship, and that started like right out of high school. Right out
It
of high
started
school.
when.
Right out of high school.
Hmm.
Right. You can hear me good because I know these lives be the connections probably ain't good all the time. Can you hear me real good?
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, good. It started right out of high school, and it started really, really good. He was very, very charming, very, you would not expect that would be from him. He was very charming. He was very sweet. Everybody loved him. Very funny, charismatic. He would give you the shirt off his back. That was him. And it did not start out physical at first, you know. Um, it was a lot of emotional and psychological games, manipulations, and
Hmm.
a lot of mental games before it actually turned physical. But because that was my first relationship, I wasn't up on what was happening. I wasn't understanding what was going on. I first looking back now, the first incident that I should have known, the first red flag that I should, or I would say could have been like the biggest red flag I could I'm trying to word this correctly. The biggest red flag looking back right now would be the incident where, like, right out of high school, we moved in together. And I remember he took my cell phone and he went through my cell phone and erased every male figure out of my phone. Anybody that had a male name, it got deleted. I couldn't talk to them anymore. Um, I couldn't stay in contact with none of my friends from high school. Uh, even up to my brothers. I have 8 brothers. One of them passed, but because he didn't know my life like that, he didn't believe I had 8 brothers, and he was getting ready to delete my brother's number out my phone because at that time, what his saying was to me is that you don't know men, boys don't want just be friends, they want more. And I was young, I was real young and naive, and I was like, even though like in my soul, I felt like it ain't right. It was like, oh, he loved me. He just loved me. And, I was just, okay, whatever. I won't talk to the other boys, you know what I mean? But that led to isolating me. That led to me, I literally lost contact with all my friends from high school up until whew, maybe 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that was the biggest red flag. From there, it became real, real controlling. I can't go here. I can't go there. If I do go somewhere, it have to be with a girl. It came to the point where even women were an issue for him. Even me
Even women with what?
was an issue for him. Even me being around another female was an issue for him. So it went from the isolation, it went to controlling who I was hanging with, who were my friends. It went from that to being verbal, the name callings. And I was one of those females too, because you said earlier that you were one of those females that a man would never hit me and I would never take that kind of disrespect. That was me. Like I could never understand, like, no, that would never happen to me. That would never happen to me because people to this day will look at me and be like, you were in an abusive relationship. This happened to you? Yeah. For a very, very, very long time.
How
And
long were you in the relationship? In the abusive part of it.
in the abuse, about 10, 11 years off and on.
Wow.
10, 11 years off and on. And most of it was abusive because the abuse started like a year into it, probably a year and a half into it.
So what made you stay?
I really did love him. I love him, and I feel like the biggest. I love him, and not that I love him. I love who he showed me he was before his true colors came out. You know, I love who he showed me he was before that mask came out. That and right
That's the name of her book,
before
The
that
Man.
mask came out. Oh, you wrote a book? You
Right
wrote
there
a
in
book?
the background.
Oh, but that's basically what it is, a mask, a big ass mask. And um I
So, and you probably also felt like you was able, like, this is just something that he's going through, especially in the first 6 months, 3 months, maybe to a year. Like, he's going to break out of it because that's kind of like what I did too, but he kept going and going. Was it cycles? Like every 2 months, every month, or every time he drank, or every time something like, do you know what was the trigger for him? Because that's something that I had to learn later on with
the
this.
trigger for him was control. It wasn't, I mean, of course when he drank it would get worse. Of course when he did that, things would get really, really bad. But the trigger for him was you just wanted to control me. It was jealousy, it was control. I'm cold, the AC's kicking my ass. It was jealousy, it was control, it was manipulation. He just wanted to have control.
Did you ever run away?
From him?
Yeah.
I don't know if you would call it running away, but I did leave. I did leave a few times. I left many times, but I always went back. I always went right back.
What did his parents or your parents know about it?
Uh, I think my mother knew about it before I told her, but even when she knew about it, I never was like, yeah, this is what's happening. You know, I never did that. Um, After a while, I couldn't hide the bruises anymore. I couldn't. It got bad. Like I couldn't hide the blood that I'm twisted right now. Hold on. I couldn't hide the bruises anymore. It began to be like it wasn't even physical anymore. It wasn't even like okay, I could see that somebody's beating her because of her bruises or because of the scratches. It was really I was drained. Like I wasn't me anymore. You know, the cha-cha that they knew that wasn't me anymore. You know what I
Have
mean?
you
My
ever
whole
have you ever called the cops? And I'm asking
um
these questions. I'm asking questions that people would ask you. Like, did you ever think to call the cops? Did you ever think to tell your family? Did you tell a friend? Like, those are a lot of questions that was asked to me and I at events and stuff. So I'm just asking you because I want to know. Everybody want to know how the next person did it. Because people say they too embarrassed. Just a lot of people keep it and they don't share. I know I didn't tell nobody. They
I
saw
was definitely embarrassed. I was very
and
embarrassed, you know.
probably confused and lost and don't even realize what you doing yourself. You can't even think to open up your mouth and say, he's hitting me. And for me, like I
Right.
said, I grew up around it. So it's kind of was something that I guess I was immune to and didn't even realize that until I just got sick and tired.
And I wasn't even immune to it. Before I got physical, I just knew something was wrong. Like that's not okay. You know what I'm saying? The treatment that I was getting, I knew that wasn't okay. You know what I mean? But by the time it did get physical, my mentals, my spirit had already, it was gone. That lady I was to say he would never put his hands on me, she was gone. By the time it did get physical, that energy was gone. That manipulation got to my head, the control already got to my head, my spirit was already broken. So that God wasn't there anymore, you know. And then when it did get physical, it didn't start out with a hit. It didn't start out with a blow to the face right away. It started out with a shake. It started out with a slap. It started out with a real aggressive pull or a push. It started like that. And then
Then
it
escalated.
got real nasty, you know what I mean? And then again, by the time you get to that point, it's like your spirit already gone. Your
Did you
spirit already
ever
broken.
did you ever try to fight back? And if you did, what happened?
I'm very aggressive in the sense of when it's time to fight back, I gonna fight back, you know what I mean? But the sick part about it was the times that I did fight back, I held back because I didn't want to hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy. That's so
Mm-hmm.
crazy. But it had moments and I was like, you know what, I had enough of this shit. And I would like go full force and fight back. Like anything I could reach, he gained it. You know what I mean? And surprisingly, sometimes he would chill. Other times that would make situations worse. And that's another reason I didn't fight back too many times because it always made the shit worse on my end. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
That's why I asked the question to see, to compare, because I
yeah,
mean the same thing. I fought back, it got worse. You try to be like, man,
yeah,
forget this. I know I'm a fighter. I'm, whatever. I ain't
right,
gonna stand here. But when you trying to fight for your life, it almost got worse. You ain't trying to die,
right.
you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
'Cause
And
that's
it
how
was
crazy it
definitely
has gotten. Trying to see what else I can ask you.
you asked
Um,
about the cycles. There were cycles to it. And that's another mind game that people don't understand. They ask why you don't leave or when you did leave, why did you go back? And they don't understand it's a game, you know. They come to you sweet, you fall in love with who that person is, the violent situations happen, and you like, damn, let me fall back and let me try to get away. But then they come back, they chill for a few months. It's no hitting, no verbal abuse, no mind games. You think no mind games, it's just chill. And then out the blue, probably 6 months later, it starts again, you know, and then it stops and it starts, it never ends. It just stops for a while, enough for them to draw you back in, you know?
Can you share a situation like of one of the incidents?
Ooh.
Because I know I was like on your timeline and you shared one, I think it was you, that you said that something about a car and your baby in a window or something like that pulled you out.
Yeah. Before I say that, I just want to let the other ladies know again, like you mentioned, don't be ashamed to hold back anything. And I'm going to tell you why. I've been through it all. I've been spit on, I've been kicked, I've been beat on while I was pregnant, I've been dragged. So don't feel embarrassed. You have nothing to be embarrassed about, okay? I had my pinkies broken. You have nothing to be embarrassed about. Black eyes, fractures, scar, I had it all. You don't have nothing to be embarrassed about, okay? But there was an incident where the one that you read, when I came, there was one of the nights I left because I know he was going to act the ass. You just after a while, you know the routine. And I left and I took my son and I went to my mother's house, pack a little bag, went there. And of course, he was like, babe, come home, da 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 da. And I was like, okay, went back, you know what I mean? Went back, he was drunk, like really, really drunk, you know what I mean? And I had the window like cracked a little bit. I wouldn't even say it was halfway cracked. It wasn't even that much open. And he was like, I just want to talk to you. I just want to talk to you. I just want to see my son, whatever the case is. And I was like, okay, whatever. I rolled the window down a little bit more so he could see my baby. And he took the opportunity to snatch my ass out window with me holding my son up the stairs. And the, I mean, I want to say the only reason I remember that particular incident so clearly is because my baby was so young at the time. He was what, 2?
Wow.
He was 2. He had just made 2. And he had just made 2. And I remember him pulling us upstairs and into the room.
It's
Uh,
okay. It's okay. It's okay. Trust me. I done cried plenty of times sharing my story and it gets the best of you. You can't talk.
right. And it's crazy because no lie, I always get emotional about this. It don't bother me that I cry because I still tell people like
It's you reliving
it's
it.
a
And it's
heal,
okay.
right, right. No, so I'm not afraid to cry. It's just it shocked me every time that to this day that shit emotional. Right,
Because
right.
it's like you looking at you now, right? You'd be like I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I can't believe that I went through these
That
things
you
and I
allow
allowed
that.
that to happen.
Right,
And that
right.
thing just eats you up. You just be like, I wish he would now. Like, you know.
It would not happen. It would not happen. And I remember it so clearly because my son was like 2 years old. And I remember I locked myself in a room. And he could have easily kicked that door open. He was just too drunk to do it. He couldn't figure it out. But I remember him dragging us upstairs. And I was like, okay, let me put my baby down. Okay. And he was like, okay, go put him down. And I took him inside and I locked the door. And he was just too drunk. I heard him like struggling with the door. He was drunk. He couldn't open the door. And I fell asleep. And my son, he was like, I remember him waking up in the morning and he was like, Mommy, Mommy, and I'm like boogery crying out. I'm like, he was wiping my face and he was like, Mommy crying, Mommy crying. And he was 2 years old with a pacifier in his mouth. And here is my 2 year old trying to comfort me.
Mm.
A 2 year old, guys, okay, trying to comfort me. And I was like, I can't do this shit no more. I can't do it no more. You know what I
Is
mean?
that when you decided to like walk away from the whole relationship?
No. It wasn't right there, but it wasn't too long after either. I probably left like 4 months after that. That was not it. Um, and it's crazy because in the beginning you were talking about how they don't believe that at 5 years old that you remember what happened in your abusive relationship or your parents, abusive experience. My son is 9 years old and he remembers everything that happened before
Mm,
he could even talk.
mm, mm,
Okay.
mm.
And I don't talk negatively about my son's father
That's good.
to him or to anybody. You know what I'm saying? But
That's
if he
good because I
remembers
don't
something
either.
and he, mommy,
That's
like, I
good.
remember when this happened. Right. If he tells me, like, mommy, I remember when that happened, or mommy, I remember when this happened, and yeah, that happened. That happened. But he, at 2 years old, I left, and he remembers things that he saw when he couldn't even talk. So it's very possible, you know what I mean? He remembers clearly, and he could not,
Mm.
you know? And um, it doesn't stop. The cycle does not stop. It stops for a while, just so they could pull you back in and get you comfortable. And then all hell gonna break loose again. I had my two pinkies broken because somebody was trying to talk to me. Again, it was jealousy. It wasn't that he was a drunk. It wasn't that he was on drugs. It was a control game. It was a jealousy issue. Um, I remember sitting on the stairs and I don't even think the dude was so much trying to talk to me. I think he was just being friendly, and I think he was like, hey, mama, you look nice, have a good day. And he saw that and he got jealous and he came out and he was like, just gonna sit here and entertain him. And at that point, again, in some situations where you just over it. And he was like, I don't want to do this shit right now.
So it's almost like I feel like the eye opener for you in the to wake up that something in you to be like, okay, I want to live. I need to get out of here. And I'm talking about when the situation when your son came to you. And it was like within those 4 months, you probably just was gaining that energy and that strength and trying to figure out stuff to leave.
I wanted to leave when I was pregnant because I was still being abused when I was pregnant. I made multiple trips to the hospital just to make sure my son was alive in my belly. Okay? And let me tell you the fucked up mentality of abusive men, okay? This night he took me to the hospital and he was like, you see how much I love you? I ain't even scared to come. I had a black eye. My lip was like busted, like busted. And they could see I just got my ass beat, okay? But
Mm-hmm.
if I don't say anything, they can't do anything, okay? And I went in there with, telling them that, I don't feel like my baby moving the way he used to. I don't feel him kicking. My baby was always active. I was scared as shit because this was probably like the fourth time I've been to the hospital, and I was like, they is going to take my ass because they know something happening. And
Um, a lot of your it's like a lot of your story sounds like mine too. I had two kids by him, and I was abused. I was being abused with both pregnancy. I left New York. I'm just gonna. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be telling bits and pieces of my story. I was trying not to do this, but it was like I left New York. I have family in South Carolina. He has family in South Carolina. And the situation, I was like 17, 18. He was my high school sweetheart. I'm going skipping through the short in my story. But it was like in New York, growing up in New York, your parents kind of like let you just do a lot of anything. It's not the country, you just go wherever. And I had freedom like that. So I left. I would spend a night with him and all of this stuff. So he used to get kicked out of his house. And I said, one of the signs I wish that, because no, first of all, let me back up. No one, I don't know about y'all, but no one ever really talked to me about relationships, the do's and the don'ts, and to look for the abusive, the mental, and all of these things that we are currently talking about now. And it was like the street kind of like learned from the street and from my environment that I grew up in. And that's why I said I felt like I was immune to it when it started happening to me, because I didn't think twice to call the cops, because everyone that I saw in an abusive relationship, they never call the cops. They fighting each other like, man, it's like this person stole their money and they just going at it, but nobody never call the cops. They go clean themselves, fix themselves up, or be mad and curse each other out all night.
And then go home.
So it was like the norm. So and even though I said I would never, but when it was like you, he wanted and dined me. He was my high school sweetheart. He was playing basketball. He couldn't tell me he wasn't fresh. You know, everybody wanted him. I thought I had the hottest thing and all of that. You know,
right?
And I got pregnant. He took me out of high school. He didn't want me to go to school no more. Ain't nobody gonna bump into my baby and all these things or whatever. He would follow me. He would come pick me up from school. I was like in the business program where you go to school one week and you go to work one week. He would meet me at the train station, pop up to my job. And just like when you said he made you delete all male contacts on his
everybody
phone,
I
started that. I did that to him. And then he found my diary. I'm the type of person, like, I have trust issues. And because I know that he was a player, I just was like, I don't know, all these chicks is your exes to me. I'm kind of sort of a little bit still like that. I just have trust issues. I grew up around a lot of crazy people. I try to do better. I'll do it better. But to skip over all of that, to get to the pregnancy part, you know, he would beat me, slam me, punch me, all kind of stuff. And I was scared. So when my baby, I never went to the hospital to check, but I just was praying, like, Lord, please let my baby be okay. Like, she don't have no bruises on her when she come out. Everything mentally, physically be okay with her from the trauma that I had to go through while she was in my womb. All of those things. But I did have her 36 weeks or 37 weeks early. She was 4 pounds 5 ounces, and I was praying. I wanted to go in labor because I felt like that was going to be an escape and a calm release for him to slow down for whatever he had going on. But when I moved to South Carolina, and that's why I came up with Reverse the Curse, because I'm like, if you know better, you do better type thing. And if you recognize your situation while you stay in this relationship, then you won't allow somebody else to share that and bring the light to it. You won't do it. So I said, I'm not going to let my kids grow up.
Because now you know the red flags, right? You know the red flags, you know what I mean?
My kids was not even one. I think they was like, they 11 months apart. They both was born in 2000, January of 2000, December of 2000. So then I married him just because to stop the abuse. I thought he was going to stop because he think everybody wanted me living in New York, walking straight, and you know, people walking this way and you walking this way. He would slap me like, what you looking at them for? What you looking at him for? Like, you know, so I said, my son would not be a woman beater. My daughter would not be in a relationship and think that this is okay. I gotta stop. I gotta figure my escape plan out. So it didn't happen that day. I don't even know if it happened in a month or two, but it happened really fast. And I just was waiting for that perfect time. I was living in an apartment complex, income-based, and you know, they don't play those games with the cops being writing you up and stuff because you would get evicted. So I got caught up. I took my kids. I done ran away. He caught onto the game. He did that, escaped with my kids. The cops told me I couldn't do anything. There was nothing he could do because we was married. His name is on the lease. They didn't even want to kick him out of the apartment because his name was on the lease. So when they wrote me a ticket, the landlord called me. She was like, you know what's going to have to happen? I was like, please, because for one, I don't got time. I was in the system. I don't have time for me to lose my children because this is crazy. So that was another sign that I needed to get out of there because I was not going to repeat what happened to me, even though I wasn't drugs, but it's an abusive relationship, but they still going into the system. I wasn't going to have that to happen. So I begged my landlord. I said, listen, you know, I never gave you no problem since I moved here, like all these other people living here with they lying to you about their man. My man was on my lease. I'm taking him off my lease. Take him off my lease. Change my locks. She changed my locks, and I said, you know, he would never come back. So that was plan one. He was going, if he leave out, he couldn't come back in unless he was busting the window. And I'm 5 foot even. This dude was like 5. Okay. Okay. So he went to work 2 hours early. He walked to work at that, and he walked back because it was too early. But before that day, before that happened, I asked him to put the entertainment center up. He refused to put it up. He's popping mad shit, mad shit. I was like, Lord, please, not tonight. I don't want it tonight, because you started knowing that, you know when it's about to pop off.
You know
And
the
that
routine.
night, I was feeling very dangerous. Like, we gonna both leave up out of here, bloody, hurt, banged up, whatever. I just was done. I was to my end of it all. So I was like, I'm gonna just shut up. I'm gonna just let him talk to you. I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna figure out how to put this big behind entertainment center up so I can stay focused and he can see that I'm not looking at him. I'm not giving no body language. Like anything would trigger them.
Right.
But he went to work that day that early, and he had to call the cops because I refused to let him in. The cops was like, he has to come in. I was like, officer, he don't live here no more. His name is not on. Like, I was giving them the full rundown like they gave me when I'm over here being beat up. You can see my face is swollen, but you want to tell me I can't kick him out of here. So he's not on my lease. He's not staying. So when you leave, he gotta go. So I was like, this dude, this time around is calling the cops on me. And it was the other way around before. So once that happened, girl, I felt so relieved. I was able to sleep. Like, I just could not see me going through that anymore because I refused to let that happen. But I'm sorry. I just can't hold it in anymore. It's just too much.
And you do take a lot before it happens. And some of the stuff that I even allowed to happen, like you said, I look back now and it's like I would never. And I don't want to be, you never say never, but I could vow on my life that I would never allow myself to ever experience that and let anybody else do me like that again. I walked around with my 2 pinkies broken for years. Never went to the doctor. They were black and blue for a while. I didn't go to the doctor. I think it's been 3-4 years since I got my pinkies fixed, and they've been broken for they were broken for like 6 years before. And the only reason I went to fix them, okay, it wasn't even like a cosmetic. It was to the point where I was like, you know what? This is my reminder that this shit will never happen again. But I want to get them fixed because my son, every time he saw them, he would be like, Mommy.
They was like hanging or something?
They were like broken. Like if you look, this one is still this one still isn't even straight all the way. I don't know if you have to see it. But they were like broken.
I can't hear you.
You still can't hear me?
Can't hear you.
I don't know why. Anybody else can hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, so They were broken. Because he went to hit me in my face and I put my hand up to my face like this. And he hit my hand so hard, like it broke my 2 pinky fingers. And imagine if he hit me in my face. If he did that to my hand, imagine what he would have did to my face,
I'm gonna ask you a couple. I think two questions, and then I want you to. After that, I want you to leave everybody with something, and then I'm gonna go to her, and then we can still chop it up and answer some questions. But have you ever felt like it was one of the situations to where you thought like you literally was going to die? Like
a lot of situations, yeah.
And did you
when
ever?
He strangled me a lot.
And did someone ever call the cops or somebody call the cops and you refused to tell them that you was being beat? But they could see, like maybe the cops popped up and then, because I'm asking this question because it happened to me. I refused. I told them no, I didn't know my face was beat up. And they called in back up and I got arrested for not telling them that he was beating me. So I'm trying to,
Um,
I don't know how to word what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying
I
to
know
figure
what
out
you
if that
mean.
ever happened to you.
Yeah, I know what you mean. For the first question, as many times I felt like I was going to die.
Mhm.
W- Once he held a gun to my head in the car on the way to taking me to my mom's house. He held a gun to my head, and he didn't say shit. He just held the gun to my head. Like, that was just reminding me that he's fucked up. I guess that's what that was supposed to be. Another incident was not even one, multiple times. Anytime he put his hand around my neck, I felt like I was going to die because he would not let go until like right before I feel like, okay,
Mhm.
that's about to be it. Um, so yeah, whenever he would put his hands around my neck, I did feel like, yeah, tonight gonna be the night. Um, as far as somebody else calling the police, my neighbor did call the cops on him one time. Um, and I'm sure many people did call the cops, but this one incident, he did call the cops on him. And I went to the door. He was like, everything is okay. And I was like, yeah, everything okay. I really just wanted him to leave. You know what I mean? Again, at this point, I I wasn't letting people know that I was being abused. So I really didn't want it out there like that. Of course, my neighbors knew they were my neighbors, but I wasn't trying to have it out there like that. And um, my neighbor was very, very upset that I let the police go. And he legit came and knocked on the door. My boyfriend at the time opened the door, and we both went out to see what he wanted. He snatched me up and put me in his apartment. He snatched me up and he put me in his apartment. He's like, you can't keep letting him do this to you. You can't keep letting him put his hands on you like this. He gonna kill your ass one of these days. And um, he was knocking on the door. He was knocking on the door. He was knocking on the window. He wanted me to come out. I wanted to go out for the sole purpose of I'm not about to spend the night here and my man next door. But at the same time, you just came from beating my ass. I don't want to go to you either. So I rather wait here. And I did wait. I wait and I slept over there that night. He was not disrespectful at all. He didn't try me. He gave me the room. He slept in the living room just in case he did try to come in the apartment. And the next day he came and he knocked on the door again. He was very apologetic. He was very I apologize, babe. This won't happen again. Da, 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 da. Can you come home? And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go home. As I got in that door, he beat my ass.
Girl, my heart. Chills and everything's just going over my body because like we literally all even I'm not just going to shift, but all of us was like living in fear and don't even know that.
The
Like
whole
we didn't
time.
feel that at that time until it just really got to the worst. Because it been times I had to sleep with one eye open, one eye closed. I couldn't even breathe hard in my sleep, or he would hit me in my sleep. Why you breathing so hard? Like, oh, why you talking in your sleep about another nigga? He was making up stuff. I even had to call my family. He made me call my mother, my father, my aunts, and everybody and tell them that I slept with my cousin because he thought my cousin had a thing for me and it was nothing going on. Like literally. So after I got out of that, I had to tell them that was all. Like, it was like, Jillian, we know that. And I was like, but I just needed to make sure. Like, it's crazy. Like, I could never see me in something like this ever again. And I'm going to get to this part. So please remember this question, y'all. Like, how has it made you in your dating now? And if you ever tried to date, like, do you do you realize that you became the aggressive now in a relationship? But um, do you have anything else that you want to share with us before I go to Kiera?
Just if you are still in this situation, again, is nothing for you to be embarrassed about. If you are in this situation, is nothing for you to be embarrassed about. It's not your fault. Leave. It's not going to stop. It
You
might go
can't
on.
change.
It might go on pause for a while, just to keep you there, but it's not going to stop. And the longer you stay in there, the closer you are to being killed or end up killing him. And if you're not out there reporting what's going on, your ass will go to jail because they have no proof that you were being abused. Okay? Talk to
That's
somebody
good
that
right
you
there.
trust. Yeah, talk to somebody that you trust. Keep a journal. Even if you don't trust anybody out there, keep a journal, keep a diary, and keep track of what's going on. But don't ever feel like you're alone. Don't ever feel embarrassed. Don't ever feel like, he did me like that. I can't speak about it. There's many of us out here that have been through the mud. I've been spit in my face. Again, I've been beat when I was pregnant. I had broken pinkies. I can't even keep track of how many black eyes I had. Busted lips, fractured skull. I had it all. You have nothing to be embarrassed about. Okay? It's not love. It might feel like love, but once you start to love yourself enough to know that you will not look at your friend and allow your friend to go through that. So don't do it to yourself. Talk to yourself and be kind and patient with yourself the way you would be with your friend, with your sister, with your home girl. You know, be kind and patient to yourself like that. And there are hotlines to call. You know, if you look at my website, the About Me section speaks about my experience, and at the end of it, there's the national hotline for domestic violence to call and reach out, talk to somebody. Don't ever feel like you in this shit alone because you're not. And 9 times out of 10 is somebody in your group, in your circle, in your friendship, in your family that is experiencing the same shit that you are, but everybody's scared to talk about it.
Yeah. Or they covering it up with heavy makeup.
And I was a pro at covering up my black eyes with
Or
heavy
wearing
makeup.
the Aaliyah swoop. I used to wear Aaliyah swoop.
My excuse was I used to run into the wall a lot. I used to run into the wall a whole lot.
And I thought one time, I thought my father was going to do something because I came to my aunt's house and he was there. And I think I just got into a fight with him the other day, like the day that night, the night before the day or whatever. And I had that bang, girl. I must have had it. It must have been exaggerated because for my family to be like, Jillian, ain't nobody no fool.
Right.
He hitting you? That's exactly that. There's no chasing. He hitting you? I'm like, no. What you talking about?
Covering it
That
up,
was
right?
my
Right.
opportunity to free myself. But I was like, no, you know. But y'all, I'm thankful. I am thankful. I am thankful. I know y'all thankful that y'all still here, alive. Y'all
Like,
made it. We made it. Just I
there
know
could have
y'all
been many
listening.
situations where you lose your life. It is many incidents where that could have been your day. He could probably just hit you and you fell on your head the wrong way, fell on your neck the wrong way, and that could have been it. And I don't think they realize how close to death somebody in an abusive relationship is. Like, it's not, oh, he's just hitting on me. No, like, you literally on death row and you don't even know
Don't
it.
even know it. Don't even know it, girl. Whew. I'm stuck. I am stuck. Let's give Miss Chacha a hand for being brave and sharing her story. Thank you for that. That was mind blowing. Kiara, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, just let us
Okay.
know who you are, where you from, if you got a family and all of that stuff.
Okay. Well, I am Kiera. I'm 30. I have 4 children. I'm single. And right now I'm starting a home health business. So
That's awesome. So, you want to dive into it? You want to tell us how it started, how old you were, all that
yeah.
stuff. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you, did you grow up? Was you growing up? did you grow up in your household, or did you grow up around like people that was close to you that you seen be abused by their lover?
No. I pretty much grew up a big family. I didn't have my dad, so my mom was a single mother. But no, I never seen anybody else really like get abused or anything like that. So I didn't think it would happen to me.
Okay. So can you take us to that day?
Sure. I
Wait,
was
tell us how it was
14.
before. I don't want you to dive in like that. Give us
Okay.
what you was feeling when you first was dating, like how she shared and how I shared. It was all peaches and creams, and think that this was gonna happen. He was the love of my life. And then
Yeah.
boom.
Um, I was 14. I was very active in school at the time. I was actually like the captain of color guard. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was really good in school. And I came across this guy and we were talking, but I started hanging out with the wrong group of friends. So once I started hanging out with them, I started drinking. I started smoking weed, like just to be cool, be in the mix. And once I started talking to him, I was like, I really like this dude. I know he really likes me. Like, just by him being around me, I felt like I was protected. Like, if everybody over there acting crazy or a fight break out, I feel like he's gonna protect me no matter what. So I felt comfortable. Um, Once I turned 15, I lost my virginity to him. Once I turned 16, I got pregnant with my first child. Um, at that time, he still stayed with his mom. I still stayed with my mom. And then I end up getting pregnant again within less than 3 months. So I understood what you said when you say your children are 11 months apart, because mine are too. Yeah. And so a little bit after my second son was born, we moved to Arizona with his family. So it was me and his mom, his stepfather, and my kids. Once I moved away from my family, that's when everything just changed. Like my whole life, I feel like I didn't have nobody but his mom. And it started off with small stuff like pinching or pushing, even like name calling or just having me like be mute, like he wouldn't allow me to talk for a certain amount of time. And I would kind of go to his mom and tell her like, hey, he's doing this to me or he's acting this way. And she's like, oh, you just know how he is. He loves you. And that's how he's showing you love. So I would be like, okay, leave it alone. Um, I didn't really understand because I was still young that when you are with a man, they're supposed to be able to take care of you. Like I know nowadays a lot of people are like, oh, me and my man go half and half. That's fine to go half and half. But, like now that I know, they're supposed to be taking care of you. But his mom will push me to go work and he will stay at home with the kids. I found myself working two jobs. I found myself working two jobs to take care of the kids. And when I still got home, I still had to take care of my kids, no matter how tired I was. So I was finally able to move out of his mother's house and we had got our own place. Once that happened, that's when the abuse just escalated. It was times where, like when he was hitting me, I would not yell because I feel like it would get worse. But one time I couldn't take it. So I got as loud as possible. And when I did, he took his hand and kind of pushed it in my mouth. And when he pushed it in my mouth, it scraped the top of like the roof of my mouth. Like a big old chunk came out. And like my mouth was just completely burning. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. So I ended up leaving and walking all the way across town. It's in Arizona. I don't know if you're familiar, but the streets are long. So I walked all the way back to his mom's house and I told her, and pretty much she was just, she comforted me. She gave me a hug and she was like, y'all need to just talk it out. I'm tired of y'all arguing. Y'all go back and talk it out. And I actually went to her neighbor and her neighbor was able to give me like, some ibuprofen. And for days, my mouth was just swollen. And I believe about a couple months after that, I ended up getting pregnant again. I was got up to about 6 months pregnant at the time. And we had like an upstairs, downstairs. And I remember we were like, what happened was he called my mom the B word. So I was like, okay, you gonna call my mom the B word? Yo, mama, you know? So we're going back and forth. And I don't remember what it was, but he took something from the top of the stairs and he threw it, and it just hit me dead in my face. And when it hit me, my nose just started bleeding right away. And so, yeah. After that, it got to a point where I was like, okay, I gotta stop talking to this dude. Like, I need to get away. And it got back to where I did go to work. My supervisor noticed, and she was like, baby, I don't know what's going on with you, but you cannot come to work like this. So I ended up losing my job. And she was like, you're pregnant, you know, you're starting to move slower than what you can, you know, normally do. Yeah, so we had a small, like, I want to say it's not a garage, but it's like a small, kind of like a little outhouse where you can put your washer and dryer. And I remember telling him, I'm tired of this, I'm leaving. I'm about to call my mom, I'm about to call my family, tell them what's going on, I'm leaving. And I ended up staying in that small spot for so long. I do not know how long I was in there. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I just remember seeing the sun come up and the sun go down. I just remember praying and asking God, please take me away from this.
And my sound kind of went out. I couldn't hear what happened down
okay,
here.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So what? I know you said that you was down there and it was like a small space. It kind of like.
Yeah, it's a small space, kind of where you can put your washer and dryer outside of your apartment. And so that's pretty much where he had made me stay in there. And there, I don't know how many days I was in there, but I know I would see the sun come up, the sun go down. And I remember I could hear my children, because it was like a yard, so I can hear my kids outside playing sometimes. And the way that they were set up, they were distant from other apartments. So it's like we had enough space. And I know when I came out, the whole thing was just full of like urine, feces. Like I was so weak. I felt like I was gonna die. And I was able to get to a phone, and I called the police and everything. And the police came. The same time the police came, his mom pulled up. They were telling the police that I was crazy. They was telling the police, she's crazy. Oh, my son don't do this to her. My son, oh no, she's crazy. And we're taking the kids and just everything. And I wanted to call my parents so bad, but I felt like when the police didn't have my back, I felt like if I call and tell my mom, because I know my family would have called and been like, oh, you're doing this right away instead of trying to help me get to a safe spot and then do what they got to do. I was scared by them, you know, saying something to him, it was going to make everything worse. So police did nothing. They told me you can go down to the police station, you can write up whatever you want to write, and they left me there. I think it was probably a couple days after that, we ended up getting into it again, and he's like, oh, you're trying to leave me. He took one of those plastic hangers and was just beating me all over my body, pretty much like I was a child. And then I remember him pushing me from the top of the stairs and running down as fast as he can and repeatedly just stomping me in my stomach. I was 6 months pregnant, just stomping me in my stomach.
Is your baby okay?
No, my child didn't make it. No, ma'am.
Your baby didn't make it?
No, ma'am, she did not make it.
So sorry.
Sorry to hear that.
You guys, when I finally felt like I woke up, the stepfather was there, and he was taking me to the hospital, and he was like, you're going to get out of this. If I got to drive you all the way back to San Diego, you're going to get out of this. You're going to call your mom right now. You're going to tell her, or you're going to die. And so I ended up doing what I had to do, and I got me and my kids out of there. And I still thank him to this day because he saved my life. He really did. And that's just a small portion of pretty much what I went through with him.
Wow.
Wow, I can't even ask you why you stayed. It seems like everything just happened like really fast. It just was like boom, 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 and God sent the angel to come pick you up out of there.
Basically.
That's what it was, an angel.
Jesus.
Angel.
I haven't been to church in a long time, but God pops up in me sometimes, y'all. I don't know. I be thinking like I am not a churchy person, but I'm like, can't believe these things are coming out of my mouth. But that is, girl, my heart goes out to you. When did this happen? Like years ago, months ago?
Years ago. I believe I left him once my child was 2. So probably about 2019, close to 20.
Oh my God. So what's your people's faces are looking like right now listening to you?
They're just looking at me. They're kind of shocked. My mom is really shocked. She's just looking at me like, but she just let me know. She said, "You're strong." She knows she made a strong daughter. And I know I went through this for a reason. It might sound weird, but I finally understand I went through this for a reason. It's a lot of young women out there that's going through this, even men, just different people,
Right.
children going through this.
Listen.
And I think this is so awesome what you're doing, because if I had this at the time, or somebody would have told me this is not love, I would have probably went through everything I went through. But I thank God that I'm alive to tell my story.
Yes. And isn't that scripture? And that's something that I say every time I kind of like speak about this, is that we ain't going through this for us. God make us go through these things to be a living testimony for someone else, to help someone else that may be in the same situation that we are in, no matter what that situation is, or to help them get through after they left.
Bigger than us. Yeah, definitely bigger than us.
When I heard that, I was like, what? Why would he make me go through all of this for someone else? Like, what?
Yeah.
But as I got older, I'm still young, and I learned and I understand, and it just was powerful. And I just was like, wow, because then God started attaching people, and then now you hear like, honey, no. And then it feels so good that you are able to help this person, even if they haven't left right then and there, but you put a bug in their ear. And that's something else. My husband now, I can't say that part. Okay, because I'm going to be exposing somebody else's stuff. But, because it was somebody connected to my husband. But one time when I was in the apartment, and this is back in 2000, I think I was with him in early 96. I think I was with the person that I thought was my high school sweetheart. You know, it seems like everybody want a high school sweetheart. And it's just, you know, I thought I had my high school sweetheart or whatever. So it was back in 96. And we moved down here in 2000. I was with child and had a 5-6 month old child or whatever. And before I left New York, let me just say this to whoever may be listening or whatever. If you are a person listening, and you're not the person that's in an abusive relationship or never been, but you have someone that you may know, and you are in their ear, and you are telling them, you are beautiful, you deserve better, you shouldn't be putting up with this, and all these other things that you may be saying to encourage them and give them all the strength that they need to leave that situation, and you feel like you just talking to yourself, I